Okay, hello and welcome to Critical Conversations. This conversation is one I have been dying to have. I have Ashley Yates on today. I have had the divine pleasure of being in Ashley's world for about half a year, and I've learned so much and had some really epic conversations with her about money, about investing, about like power roles, all the things. And I love talking money with her. She's been in my group program, The Hub, and people loved the conversation that we got to have there as well. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Ashley. Introduce us to our audience.
Hi, everyone. Ashley. Also, I think our favorite conversation that we've had so far, though, was still the one in the hot tub.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I am Ashley. I have over 12 years experience in the finance and wealth world. I help my clients really break through, define what wealth means to them, and help them start accumulating wealth that is sustainable and that supports their life, their business. And that's the quick and dirty on me.
I love it. I love it. So now that we're not naked in a hot tub, let's talk about this.
I didn't tell him the naked.
It was dark. Don't worry, you guys. Okay. It was really fun. But anyways, so what, first of all, what does wealth mean to you?
Wealth means something totally different than it means to you. So that's really my entire education, though, is that there is no one definition of wealth. Wealth is very multidimensional. And the mistake that so many people get trapped in is thinking that wealth is just simply the number in their bank account.
Okay.
And it's common because, I mean, shockingly, in between like physics and calculus, they did not teach us anything to do with finance in school. At least not in America. I can't speak for other countries, but in America, we got taught jack crap.
Yeah.
But we get into the world, we start working, and we just start tracking the dollars in our account, and we lose sight of how many other ways you can define wealth. Wealth within your relationships, your health, your ability to connect to other people. What you want out of life and what I want out of life is drastically different. Not everybody would want to build a custom home on 10 acres and have a farm.
Right.
And if we're not all the same people, then we have to stop defining wealth as just the dollar to achieve or buying our own home or keeping up with the Joneses.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned the education system, so I want to touch on this just briefly because I think it's important, and it's actually something I was talking with a client yesterday. They were like, well, why don't I know this? And I'm like, because nobody taught us how to balance a checkbook in school. And so if you never had parents who sat down with you or anyone, right? If nobody sat down with you and taught you about debt to income ratios, your expenses, like if you might make $18 an hour, but you need to pay attention to what you're actually taking home after taxes, like the difference between gross and net, right? Okay. So when you speak about the education system, what would you do differently in the education system so that we were raising humans who could at least balance a fucking checkbook?
But what checkbook, Karissa?
I know. I'm so old. I'm dating myself. I use a checkbook. I love it. I pay most of my employees through a checkbook. I'm not going to lie.
You're that employer that makes her eye twitch because you won't just direct deposit it.
Actually, no, we're transitioning. I will rephrase it. We're transitioning. But like contractors and stuff, like my contractors are still going to get a check. But
honestly,
anyways,
they probably the education.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that our entire American education system needs a reset. So it's hard to just say I would simply do one thing. But I can tell you, even being in the banking and finance world, I have never one time used calculus in my entire adult life. But budgeting sure would have been good. Knowing how to balance a checkbook, how to balance your account, how to not get sucked and trapped into the current world we live in where everybody's supposed to own 5 Stanleys.
Right.
And it'd be a complete overhaul. I mean, I wish there was an easy answer where it's like, oh, if we had a budgeting 101 class, but I think our priorities are a little skewed on the public education system.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's this like concept of whose responsibility is it? And
Yeah.
I think unless you understand there's a disconnect, it's hard to see that there needs to be a reconnect. And I think that is maybe the piece that's most important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is like a lot of people don't see that there's a disconnect in finances. So let's talk about that, because I think when you go on Instagram, and if you're in the coaching industry or you're in the personal development world, you're going to get flooded with like, make money like this, do this like this. And it's like, when I look at that, I'm like, but I don't really want like a fancy Porsche like that, like, I don't want that. What I would love though is a fucking King Ranch truck and a gooseneck trailer. So when we're talking about like the definition of wealth, the definition of like all of this, it's easy to get blinded, right?
Yep.
So my question is, what are you seeing when you get on Instagram? Because what I'm seeing is like, but that's not me.
And that's keeping to the coaching industry. That's a really crucial place that we're in right now, is we have these coaches, we have these individuals, not even just coaches, we have anything, the make money at home, the make millions while you sleep within 30 days, all the bullshit that you're seeing online. And we're seeing it time and time again now, where we have individuals they're desperate, they want to learn, they're seeking out this individual because this individual is supposed to know things. And what's happening is they are just simply sharing with their clients their wealth definition, their wealth journey. And then that person is trying to copy and paste it. And even if it works a little bit, you're getting 6 months, 12 months, 2 years down the road, and now you have built a life that makes zero fucking sense for you, because you're trying to emulate and become whoever's coaching you, whoever you are paying. So even if part of it's working, it's never going to be sustainable, because you're essentially getting away from your own aura, your own wealth, what is going to fulfill you, and you're trying to become that other person. Or it never works, and then you're super fucking frustrated because you're spending all this money and it never works. Well, it's never going to work because it's not your wealth. It's not your journey.
Right. So are we talking about copy and paste methods here?
It's very copy and paste. And what you're going to see, like when you go online, when you go on to, especially like Instagram, and you see these ads or these posts where it's like, I will teach you my proven 5 steps where you can become me. You can become a mini me.
Right.
And then those proven 5 steps that worked flawlessly for that person don't work for you.
Yeah.
Because you're not the same person. Or even if they do work, all of a sudden you find yourself burning your life down in 3 years because you've built a life that you shouldn't have built to begin with. It's not your life to build. It was theirs. You just became their carbon copy.
Yeah. I want to ask a question around like, whose fault is it?
I don't know if it's anyone's fault. I mean, you can point blame at anyone at the end of the day. Anyone who's doing this, it's good marketing, right? Because when you go out to seek things, you want a solution to a problem. They're trying to offer you that solution. They themselves are just not equipped to step back and offer you a customized solution where they take themselves out of it and they find the solution for you. They want to just sell you their solution for them. And unfortunately, and we've talked about this, how like the lack of regulation, the lack of credentials that are needed, the lack of experience. We have such a huge range of experience on the market right now, where again, I don't think they're intentionally realizing they're doing this. I mean, maybe some of them are. There's always the bad eggs, right?
Sure.
But if you as a coach, if you're a coach, this is, we kind of talked about like what to look for.
Yep.
If you are seeking help, if you are trying to maybe hire somebody on and they cannot offer you any way to make sure that their solution actually works for your life, pause.
Right.
If they're just simply trying to create another version of themselves, pause. Because they may not have the capacity to actually customize their offering customize their expertise, I should say, not their offer, but expertise to fit with your life.
Right, right, right. Well, and I think that's like where I've struggled in the industry. I actually don't follow a ton of coaches and stuff because I don't want to do it like others. Like, I don't have a Stanley. I have a fucking Starbucks cup that somebody gave me that's broken. I could literally go get a Stanley, and like part of me is like, well, maybe I should get a Stanley. Everyone has one, right? But like, I think the piece of it is at some point in my journey, I gave myself permission. Like, I don't need to like look like every other coach or person out there. And I think that's the piece. I gave myself permission to create. Like, I understand money differently. I utilize money differently. I'm going to invest in different ways. So when we're talking about, I mean, we're kind of talking about like this quick fix, but is wealth something that even has a quick fix?
No, because all of our relationships with money are so fucked up all the way down back from childhood. No,
right.
It's not possible. And that's where, especially like, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a wealth coach. It bleeds into business coaching. It bleeds into all the other things, but my offer, like my one-on-one offer, same price, and you get the same things no matter who you are, right? You get so many hours of my time a month, so much, whatever it is. But I have to step back and realize that your definition of wealth, what I need to be telling you to get you to unblock all of those funks from your childhood, from your past relationships, are not the same as what I would tell somebody else. And what we have right now is we have a coach having 6 clients and telling them all the same things. I'm gonna take you through this 5-step process and copy and paste the same thing to all 5 of you. But why isn't it working?
Right. So what are the red flags? How does somebody avoid this?
Back to the, again, if they don't have the capacity to do anything besides just try to have you go down the same path as they took.
Yeah.
That's going to be the biggest one. And you're probably only going to learn that by actually having a conversation with them. Maybe seeing what they offer in like a really low cost offer, but also the biggest thing that you need to do is figure out what your current relationship with money is. Our relationship with money starts as children.
Yeah. Tell us about that. What do you see?
So a lot of times we correlate relationship, our money, all the things. One, we don't even think of it as a relationship.
Right.
Like, what's a relationship? A relationship is one that you can't fucking ignore, right? If I ignored my husband for 2 months, we would have issues. Yet we say we have this healed relationship with our money and we ignore it for months at a time.
Oh my God. I love that.
And it's so funny, like this, it's like almost it's like a catchphrase, your relationship with money. And it's like, you don't have a relationship with your money. You're avoiding, you are ghosting the shit out of your money right now.
Yeah.
So you have to know where you currently are. You have to understand how deep that trauma goes. Most people's trauma starts in childhood. When you think about the very first time that you got money as a child, maybe it was that birthday card you opened from grandma and grandpa, and that $20 bill, that crisp $20 bill came flying out of it. What happened to that money? Did you get it? Did you get to keep it? Were you just given free range at Target to blow it? Did mom and dad pocket the money and you never saw it again? All of those memories impact how you treat money. Yeah.
As you're talking, I'm literally like, okay, so my mom, I remember she like mindset stuff is one thing, but the way that she physically treated money, she like shoved it into her purse. And like, there was a point in like my personal development journey where I was like, I'm going to honor this money and I'm going to get a really beautiful wallet and I'm going to make sure that like it's flat and crisp and clean because I wanted it to feel respected, right? Like if we're talking about making it a relationship, it was like, I started to see how like the way I was raised, what I saw, right, was this quote unquote disrespect, right?
Yeah.
By just shoving it wherever, quickly, get out of sight, out of mind kind of a thing. And so I'm realizing there's like an unconscious, I did it unconsciously, but as you say that, I'm like, oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yep.
So what are the top things that you see as far as like wealth, maybe blocks, like when people want to make, I mean, cause I think it's normal. Most of us want to make money.
Yep.
But what are the blocks?
Most of us.
Yeah, and so what are the like if you could like highlight one or two like big blocks that people have, what are they?
So one of the most common blocks is your family. And you've probably heard this before, but it's the question of if all of a sudden you were successful, you made it, and within like 24 hours, even a month, the time really doesn't matter, but you're like, holy crap, I made $100,000. And you called your parents and you told them that, what would their response be? That's 8 out of my 10 clients have that block. And the responses are all totally different. Some of them might be, that's greedy. That's, can I have some? They don't believe you, vice versa. Like the answers themselves could be different, but if you can't answer that question and be like, they would be so freaking jacked. Like I would get off the phone with them. They'd call my grandma and tell my grandma, like, if it is not this overwhelming of like, I can't wait to make that phone call, you've got a block.
Shit. So this is the magic of you. And maybe you want to leave this for like your private clients, but what would you like, how does somebody work? Like, I'll use me as an example. I don't know what my parents would say.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, I don't. Idea. I have an idea. I think it could go one of two ways. I think it could be like, where's mine? Like, okay, are you going to pay me back for college and all this shit now? I think there was also, they could be in disbelief, but I don't think that they would be like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. I don't think that's a response that they would ever get. So
there's quite a few activities that we can do to try to help to kind of get that blockage to flow again. I almost just gave the worst analogy. I can't believe it just even came into my head. We're not going to say it out loud. Oh my God. I didn't eat before this, but so I'd walk you through a couple of different activities. First we would identify it, right? We have to figure out all of the blocks, and there's going to be quite a few, and we have to figure out where you currently are. And then we start doing the exercises and the activities to try to slowly repair that. It's going to involve journaling. It's going to involve actually like writing out that phone call.
Yeah.
The phone call of like where you feel it would be, and the phone call of like what you want it to be, because you may never get it, regardless of writing out that fake phone call. It may never happen, but you have to give your inner child that. You have to be able to give yourself that to yourself. A lot of it's going to be finding not replacements, of course, for your family, but building up and finding other support avenues for you. That way you still have that ability to make that phone call, even if it's not to your parents.
Right.
So it's quite a few. Usually I try to take all the blocks together and then find like as few of activities that we can package together to kind of knock off multiple ones at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. And in order to receive wealth, how important is it to understand what wealth means to you?
You can't receive it until you know what it is.
Yeah. It's like a total block.
You can receive money.
Yeah.
You can make money, but it won't be true wealth and it won't be balanced. And that's where I have for wealth to me is 5 buckets. It's time wealth, it's relationship wealth, it's money wealth, it's physical wealth, and it's like mental, emotional wealth. And at any time, if those are not in sync, and this is like what I really teach my clients is how to figure out your baseline for those, how to keep them in sync, because once you connect them, fully connect them, then you skyrocket every time.
100% bro. 100%.
And so it's figuring out the process of how to make them all rise together, because typically as a society, we focus on one. We focus on the money, or, it's the new year, we focus on the physical, and everything else burns while you're focusing on that one bucket. Yeah. So it's connecting the buckets, having them all rise together. That's where the real power is on truly building wealth, not just money.
Yeah. So you do what's called a wealth map. Is that kind of what you're doing with the buckets? Yep. Then you're identifying what those buckets look like what
they look like. Yeah, and it starts with your actual past. It starts with identifying where the F you went, right?
yeah,
That's a map. So where have you already been? Because we got to figure
yeah,
that out. Where have you already journeyed on this? So it
yeah.
starts all the way from your past to your present, and then your present is redefining all those things. So it's like, okay, now we're going to take the next step forward, and it's going to fucking make sense finally.
Yeah, I love that. I love this conversation. I mean, I love talking money, and I think one of the themes of my last year with money was redefining my relationship to debt, and specifically credit card debt. I think that there's a really strange shame blame game that happens around credit card debt, but it's like it really, like, what credit cards do, and what it did for me was it was like a loan to live. And I've had many conversations with my clients around that, of where it's like, what are you holding back from living, right?
Right.
You know, like if wealth for me is the freedom to like go on vacations and do stuff, sometimes I might need to use a credit card to get there.
Right.
And that's a loan to live, right? Now there's responsible credit card debt and there's irresponsible credit card debt. Like, it's a fine line, but I think, like, why do we shy away from these conversations?
Because we don't feel our actual relationship with money. And if it's not healed, then yes, any debt feels heavy. It feels bad. It feels awful. Regardless of the fact that, especially like for our age range, they were shoved on us the day we turned 18.
Totally.
I mean, I woke up, like on my 18th birthday, I woke up to my bank calling me, offering me a credit card. That's what woke me up to my 18th birthday. Now that's changed regulation wise. They can't do that anymore, thankfully.
Thank
But
God.
it's because we're told it's bad. And instead of, again, honoring what it did, and this is even if you're in debt, like for anyone who is drowning in debt right now, we can't immediately undrown you. We need to make sure that as you work your way out of it, you don't do it again. But what did that debt get you? To your point, did it get you that, like, that family vacation with your kids? Did it keep a roof over your head? Did it feed you? Like, regardless of it, sucking now, and we need to fix it, we need to get you out of it. The moment that you can like release that chain of just shame and guilt around it and realize that it still brought a lot to your life.
Yep.
That flips the script in your head, right? For me, when I was a 19-year-old single mom, that credit card that they shoved down my throat when I turned 18 is the only thing that kept my daughter in diapers.
Yeah.
Was it overwhelming as hell to have debt as a 19-year-old single mom? Yeah. Is it one of the reasons that I don't want to go into a mass amount of debt again? Totally. But that debt kept my daughter fed and kept a diaper on her and kept bills getting paid.
Right.
I have to respect that. I have to be able to go, hey, you know what? That interest blew, but
yeah.
So it's not evil. It's not this evil, oh my God, credit card. It's like, no, that credit card saved my ass.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, do you remember what the interest was back then? I'm just curious.
That one was in credit card interest rates have not actually gone up that much.
No, okay, they've been consistent.
No, they've been pretty consistent. So my guess is it was like mid-20s.
Okay, yeah. I was just curious. I mean, I actually didn't get my first credit card until, and I think I got a credit card in college, paid it off, and was like, I'm not responsible enough for this. And then I think I didn't get one until Ruby was almost like 4 years old or something. Yeah, because I just was like, I then feared it, right? Because I had this shame around like, oh, you were in college and you made some bad decisions, right? I bought a hobo wallet and some jeans from Nordstrom. Like, yeah, probably didn't need that, but I bought it, right? So let's talk about the concept of, you know, if you were raised in a home where nobody talked about money, and like I literally just had this conversation last week with somebody where I was like, you actually hold all the power of your money, whether you're fucking broke and in debt or not. You actually hold a lot of the power. Tell me what comes up for you when I say that.
No, it's true. And that's regardless. A lot of people will be like, well, I never got taught money. It's like, you still did, just to the point, right? you still did, because in those instances where you got Christmas money, where you got things where you ended up maybe witnessing your mom crying in the laundry room because something was happening financially, like you did get taught money,
Yeah.
just not on purpose. But truly, when I worked, again, I was in banking for over 11 years. The clients that were the hardest to work with, that were the hardest to fix, heal, whatever, were the ones who were taught money as children. Because just because you were taught something doesn't mean it was good.
Right.
We have to remember, like, we weren't taught this stuff growing up, neither were our parents.
Right.
And so a lot of times we have individuals who were taught shit. And
Right.
that, when it was like active teaching, is so much more rooted in you. So the more that you can say, you know what, this is me. I own this. I have the ability, regardless of what happened to me 15, 20 years ago as a child, I get to heal that for my inner child, and I get to take fucking ownership, because at the end of the day, I am not supporting my mom or my dad. I have to make this money for me.
Right. Well, okay, that's an interesting point, because I think there's also this weird, like, culturally speaking, America's ass backwards, I think, which is a whole different topic for a whole different day. But as you know, we travel to Nicaragua every year, and culturally speaking, there is this dynamic there where everybody takes care of each other. And so it's like you'll often see the mom go be a nanny in a different household, or the dad go to a different country, or the son or the daughter, right? And they're sending money to like the whole family.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about how that operates in like that culture, right? And how in America, it's not necessarily like, I love my family, I want to support them. It's more like, you owe me. At least that's my perception of it. Tell me what your perception is.
It's a really weird dynamic, because in a lot of ways, it's going to be such a weird, me and these analogies today, but it's like America, it's like we're reptiles. Like, the moment all of a sudden we're adults, it's just like,
yeah,
help you.
yeah.
Versus, to your point, in other countries, the idea of like kicking their 18-year-olds out of the house to, make it or break it is like, why would you do that? They're 18. Like, their brains ain't even developed all the way yet. Why would you do that? And
Right.
also, the idea of then your mother coming to live with you after your father passes away is, of course, that would happen. I would want nothing further than that.
Right.
So we're just in such a different like reality of that. It's hard to pick, what's better, what's worse, because it's not going to change. Like, America is what we are, and we're real stubborn about it.
Yeah.
But we have that disconnect where, again, we have that trauma. Like, I can guarantee you, if you were to ask that question to most other people in other worlds of like, what would happen if you called, they would be so excited to call their parents, knowing that part of that money probably would go to them, and that would fulfill them so much, to be like, Mama, I did it. I have $100,000. Expect that check in the mail. Versus like we do it and we're like, are they going to ask us for money? Like, are they going to make us feel bad that they sent us to college, or that, they allowed us to live?
Yeah. Well, and I
whole,
think, go ahead, finish your thought.
Oh, no, I was going to say, it's that whole, like you said, like, are they going to want me to pay for something that was never an agreement that I ever paid back?
Right. Right. And I think it's just like, you don't know what you don't know, and you can't heal what you don't know is broken. Yeah. And so I think the conversation of money, people shy away from, and they aren't necessarily open to looking at the trauma of their money wounds, because it's not something we talk about, period.
No.
At all.
Yeah, it's not talked about. And then when it is talked about, you're usually like, why are you talking about this? It's the whole sweep it under the rug. We don't talk about those things.
Right.
You ain't going to heal then, but all right.
Right. And you're also, I mean, I think there's like one final point we can make for today. I mean, I'll definitely have to have you back, because I think there's so much to unpack here. But when we're talking about, number one, we're talking about defining wealth. Number two, we're talking about like cultural variations of like the expectations around making money or having money. Number three, the final thought I would love for you to touch on is, what's the dynamic here when let's say you do hire a coach and they're utilizing this copy and paste method, and you get lucky and it works once, but then it doesn't work. Like, what is the, sustainability of not doing this work and being able to have the quote unquote wealthy life that you want?
It's how bad you want to fake it. And that's where I think in previous generations, it has worked for their entire life.
Yeah.
Because they've never felt the need to truly honor themselves. And so we're seeing such a huge generational shift right now as we come out of this, put your head down and just make other people happy. And we go, I don't want to live that way. So it is only sustainable until you realize it's not your journey. As long as you think it's your journey, it's sustainable until the day that you realize, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that is truly what changed my entire life, because 4 years ago, I worked at a bank. I was a vice president. I was on my way to being like an executive level for this bank. Like, we're talking great career for a 30-year-old at the time, but 29-year-old. I was about to sell my house, buy land, build a home on 5 acres, and buy my first damn chicken. Because that is what the North Idaho definition of wealth was.
Yeah.
And I was checking those things off, and it was working until the moment I woke up one day and said, I don't want a fucking chicken. I don't want a chicken. Boom, it all crumbled. Because I could no longer sustain anything when I now knew it wasn't truly my definition of wealth.
Damn.
So it all started because of a chicken.
You know what's so fucked up? I went to the vet this morning and dropped off my dog, and somebody brought in a fucking chicken, and I was like, that's a thing. I've had chickens, and there's no fucking way I would have ever taken my chicken to a vet. I was like, am I an asshole because I wouldn't have taken? Anyways.
A different chicken pet. That's a pet chicken, not a...
I guess. And that's a whole different podcast episode. So I'm curious, can you tell us what is wealth to you?
Wealth to me is the ability to raise my family where I want to raise them and how I want to raise them. It's the ability to work when I want to work, but also still work myself. Yeah. Wealth is the ability to take 13 trips last year. 13 fucking trips. That's insane, by the way.
No, and you were literally, I remember being like, damn, does that chick like, where does she do laundry?
And it's like, and it didn't, everyone's just like, wasn't that exhausting? And I was like, no, I would have done. I almost did 14.
Yeah.
I almost picked my family up and left for Christmas to just get that 14. And that's the difference, is that to other people, the idea of traveling that much would be like, ugh.
Right.
Traveling that much to me, like, I would be a nomad. And I am working towards becoming a nomad. Like, I will keep this house. I'll rent it out. This house is not my final destination.
Oh, I definitely see this journey for you. And I'm so glad I get to be your friend along the way and visit you wherever you go.
I've gone from a corporate banker to be a gypsy and nomad.
I love it. I love it. But, I think that's the permission too. Like, if we just step outside of like wealth, it's just permission to like follow your own path. And
like, I want to be on a hot air balloon in the Middle East with my YSL bag. That's me.
Yeah. I would die on a hot air balloon. That's like my fucking nightmare, right? But I love that for you. Love that journey for you. Okay, well, Ashley, tell our listeners, where can they find you and learn more about your education and expertise in wealth?
I'm primarily on Instagram at ashyates.co. I do have a Facebook. I'm trying really hard. I got off Facebook years ago. I'm trying. So I have one. I don't know how often I'll be on it. So Ash Yates Co is where you can find me for the most part. I'm also on TikTok, but my TikTok is just 100% really that basic level budgeting. And that's your retired banker on TikTok.
Ooh, I love that. All right, Ashley, thank you for joining the conversation. And I look forward to having you back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Bye.